Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to this episode of TheBeerChasers. I'm Preston, and today we're going to be taking a new approach on some content. I just wanted to kind of give a quick, brief overview of a visit that I had to Cycle Brewing here in St. Petersburg, Florida. I was planning on going in there and filming and talking with the owners and getting an interview and stuff, but on my visit to the brewery to kind of set some of that stuff up, I really kind of got turned away from the place, and I'll kind of go into that now. So basically, I've been hearing a lot about this brewery since I moved over to the Pinellas County area. Cycle was one of these places that people kept telling me, you've got to go check it out, you got to go check it out. And to find out, it's only like 4 or 5 blocks from my work in downtown St. Pete. So finally I've had some time. I got together and went and checked it out. So I think it was Friday, December 20th, or whatever the Friday is in that time period. I went down there right after work, so it was about 5 o'clock. I rolled up, and first when I got in there, I realized I sat down at the bar, I was about ready to order, and I read a sign that it's cash only. So in this day and age, that's really surprising to me, especially when you're a brewery that's selling, $5, $7, $10 beers, and sometimes $25 and $30 specialty beers. I get it when you're a little mom and pop convenience store and you don't want to ring up a 50-cent pack of gum on a card because it's going to cost you whatever the fees at Visa and those guys charge you to ring those things up. Or if you're a new startup and you can't afford the equipment yet. But even in this day and age, it's kind of unacceptable because they sell iPad apps where you can just swipe them on an iPad. There's ways to get entry level into being able to accept credit cards. And again, in this day and age, to accept cash only at that level, it's kind of it was surprising. So anyways, so I get up, and it's not too big of a deal. It's downtown St. Pete. I could find a bank. And just a couple blocks down there was a Bank of America, which I bank at, so there was no convenience fees and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I had to go get cash, walk back up. And so it's Friday. It's starting to pick up a little bit. There's probably 10 or 11 people in there, and I believe there was 2 bartenders. There's a girl and a guy, and the girl who was serving me at the bar. So I look at the menu, and I notice there's probably 18 or 20 spots up on this board to where they have beers. And really, there's only maybe 8 or 9. So it looks like, they're either half empty or I don't know if they just don't always carry 18. But, from the appearance of coming in for the first time, it looked like they're out of a lot of beers. And of the 9 they had, there was probably 3 or 4 IPAs, a double IPA thrown in there. They had a sour Hefeweizen of sorts. And then one of the ones they did have, which I was recommended to get, was the cream and sugar stout, which from what I've heard, it was really amazing. And so I said, okay, well, I'd like to take a flight of, a couple of these. Well, we don't serve flights. So again, it's another red flag for me. It's you're a brewery, but you don't serve little sample sizes, the little flights. That's one of the things I enjoy most, is to go to a new brewery, and for the first time you get a flight, you get 4 different beers, just sit down with them and try out a couple of different beers. So they did offer me some samples if I'd like, but I'm not going to sit there and keep getting these little 1-ounce pours. Ooh, can I try that now? Can I try that? I just wanted to sit down and kind of start going through the experience. So now that's kind of ding number 2. I had to go out and get cash, which again, not a big deal, but I don't ever carry cash. I know a lot of people who don't just carry cash around anymore. Now you don't have flights. So now if I really want to sit down with a good amount of beer, I got to order a full beer. No problem. It's happened before. Not end of the world. So I did order the cream and sugar stout, which was awesome. It was really great. It tasted awesome. You got some creaminess. The coffee flavor wasn't that super roasted kind of barley coffee flavor. It was actually coffee, and I believe they use a locally sourced coffee from somewhere in St. Pete, so that's pretty cool. The beer was great. That's the most, the great part of the experience was the beer was awesome. So there is some positivity here, but most of my experience is negative. We'll keep going into it. So, I enjoyed the beer enough to say, hey, I want to take some of this home. And I asked, well, I see you have growlers listed up here. How much would a growler be for the cream and sugar? It's well, we don't have growlers right now. I said, okay, so no flights, no growlers. But they did have growlers, the canned growlers on hand. So, I can't remember exactly how much the pour ended up costing. It was reasonable. But again, I got the canned growler, which I was hoping to get a glass growler because I intended to come back. And I'm going to get into this in a second too, because there's a beer there called Rare DOS, which is what everybody told me you've got to try. If you go to Cycle, you've got to get the beer called Rare DOS. You've got to get Rare DOS. And it's a stout, supposedly really amazing. Well, it's not listed on the board. And part of my other problem with the experience I had was, I was trying to ask about that beer, and the bartender was very dismissive my entire time. The only time she really paid attention to me was when she was trying to serve me something or try to sell me something, and being from a beer show, I like to kind of chit-chat a little bit. I like to try to get the history of the place. I like to, find out who the owners are. And I like to try to build that rapport and give a card and stuff like that. But I really wasn't getting that. It was just very much, hey, can I help you? Okay, got you. Okay, I'm going over here. And it wasn't super busy to where she couldn't spend the time. Again, it was just very dismissive, not very customer service friendly in my eyes. Anyways, back to Rare DOS. So I said, hey, I noticed, the Rare DOS beer isn't on the board. I asked, is that something seasonal? Is it, you come out with it every so often, you're just out right now? And, part of the customer service aspect was, her response is, well, you just got to keep checking Facebook. I said, well, I'm not really a fan of yours on Facebook because it's the first time I've been here. I said, again, is it seasonal? Can you at least let me know, should I come back in March? Should I be looking for it in June or something? She said, no, you just got to keep checking Facebook. I said, okay, wow, so the big beer I'm supposed to come back for, I just got to keep hoping and guessing, that you're going to have it. You don't have glass growlers. I have to take a growler home now. So even if I wanted to come back for that, I would only get it in a growler. Or, you don't have flights. I'm paying cash. So a lot of little things, start adding up to me, to an experience, as well as a customer service where, she's not really talkative. And I understand, sometimes you're busy. You don't have time to spend 3, 4, 5 minutes at a chunk with every, patron you have in there. But it wasn't that busy. And I was fishing for information. I was trying to engage and get a conversation going, but it just wasn't really reciprocated. And I understood. I said, hey, if that's the thing, that's it, no problem. And then I started taking a look around, and I realized that it's kind of like the vibe I'm getting now at this point is that, hey, we're the stuff. We know our stuff is the stuff, and, if you don't like it, there's kind of the door. We got plenty enough customers that we don't need you. And I'm not saying that's what they're saying, but that's just the impression I kind of got. The fact that they're out of the growlers, there's no flights, it's cash only, they're not really paying attention to you, they won't give you any information about the special beers that they have. So, overall for me, it just wasn't a positive experience, and I left there not even giving a business card. I left there with the intent of what? I'm not gonna bother. I'm not gonna come in here and film. I'm not gonna interview anybody. I learned from my lesson with Paradise Brewing, if you don't have perfectly glowing things to say about a brewery, they're not going to take very kindly to it. And that's something I'm going to address probably in the next episode. But, I wasn't going to come in there with the experience I had, and I really wasn't going to do any filming with it. I was just going to pretend like I'd never been, and you guys would have none been the wiser, and, things would have gone on their merry way. But the final nail in the coffin, what really pissed me off, is on, I believe, Tuesday. So the following Tuesday, we're talking 3-4 days later, one of my buddies from work, who's a huge Cycle fan, who goes there all the time, tells me, hey, just a heads up, a Rare DOS is coming out today, and the line's already out the door, and you've got to go down there if you want it. Well, I'm at work. I just got to work. I really can't leave work for beer. I can't be beer chasing at 9 in the morning. But that was it for me. I'd been in there 4 days earlier. I couldn't even get a hint of, hey, we've got some in the hopper, it's going to be coming soon, just hang tight, check with Facebook, that would have made sense. But the impression I got was just, yeah, just check Facebook, check Facebook, knowing that it was coming out in 4 days, there could have been some sort of hint. And I get it, you can't tell everybody, yeah, it's coming Tuesday, just be ready for it. Because, obviously the line was out the door. They had less, supply than there was going to be demand, and they couldn't tell everybody exactly when it's going to be there. But you could have given me a hint. And again, you never know who your customers are. I'm not saying the Beer Chasers carry a lot of clout. I'm not saying we've got fucking 10,000, hits every month or anything like that. But it is an opportunity to, branch out a little bit. And you never know who's sitting at the bar. And in this case, it was kind of someone who does reviews. And it is somebody who can come on and say, hey, this was kind of my experience. So I really wasn't going to until that. And that really pissed me off. That's the beer that I went there for. They couldn't tell me what was coming out. Lo and behold, a couple of days later, there it was, and now I wasn't going to get it. Who knows when it's going to come around again. So, yeah, anyways, that's my experience with Cycle. To be fair, it was the only time I've ever been there. And, maybe that's not the norm. Everybody can have a bad day. I understand that. But, in this society where there are many breweries popping up, sometimes you're only going to get one shot with somebody. And they kind of blew their shot with me. I'm not saying I won't ever go back in there. Again, their beers are amazing. you know, I might pop in there and try to pick up a growler. But as far as me going out of the way and saying, hey, this is a great place, I want to come interview you guys, I want to come check it out, you know, and get the story, not really interested, you know. And from my impression, not really interested either. So, anyways, that's what it is, you know. That's my opinion, and opinions are like assholes, like everybody says. Everybody has one. Most of them stink. So, it is what it is. So, that's going to wrap up this episode of The Beer Chasers. On the next episode, we're going to continue this kind of open letter format. I want to talk to you guys about some changes and just get some stuff off my chest, you know, about the show in general. Kind of vent a little bit, if you will. So I'll have an open letter to the Beer Chaser fans here coming up in the next episode. But until then, I'm Preston, The Beer Chasers. We'll see you later.
Beer is good, beer is good, beer is good. And stop, beer is good, beer is good, beer is good. Let's go drink some beer.